Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. It continues to rain here in Madrid, which is a beautiful thing. It's good to see nature at its best. I have a little apartment in a small town called El Tiemblo, and there are two dams, El Burguillo and Charco, and both of them have been open while the dams are open, letting the water out. And it's just lovely, just fascinating seeing everyone from, all around, all the villages around coming and seeing it. It's quite spectacular seeing nature so powerful. So incredibly grateful for all this rainfall. That's it. Running when I'm drenched and cold continues to be something that I wouldn't say is my highlight for training. It's already hard to go out to run, let alone when you know you're going to just get drenched and you're going to feel cold and your feet are going to be all squidgy with the water. But there are worse things. The good thing is that it is raining. Now, getting back onto today's subject. Now, if you notice some smoke right in front of my screen, it's because I've got my incense stick. I've lit that up. I always find it helps me get in the zone, helps me concentrate, calms me down, it helps me keep sharp and focused. So if you see the smoke, sorry about that. Okay, now getting to today's subject. Today, I'd like to talk about something that I've just found kind of fascinating. And I was on two minds whether I should actually record this, whether I should actually bring this subject up, because I don't want to ruffle feathers and I don't want to be controversial. But as I have been promoting the Wellness Asset Academy, the Asset Builder mentorship programs, and seen all this, amazing interest in learning and growing, I've also seen some comments or some, thoughts coming from wellness leaders in the industry that, and it's a recurring thought, it doesn't matter which part of the world you are. And it just got me thinking. And that comment, that thought can be boiled down to it's my company's job to invest in my training. Now, when I was told that the first time round, I really didn't know how to respond. And I didn't respond to that. And, you respect people's opinions. And then it got me thinking that I have never, ever thought that I am someone else's responsibility. I have never thought that my growth, my career progression is someone else's responsibility. I have never delegated that on an employer or anyone else. Now, that could partly be because I have been brought up in a family where education, like any good Indian family, is incredibly important. My parents, my mother has 2 degrees. My dad is a fantastic, best in class in his field within, structural and civil engineering in hotels. So he was the best of class. And I've always seen both my mother and my father, whenever they've wanted to learn something, upskill something, they've learned it. And, I remember my dad, when, he had his chemotherapy sessions, as well as after that, go and learn how to, use CAD. I mean, he was in a very different era when things are different. And he was actually upskilling himself in the late, when he was like 69, 70 years old. So I've always thought it fascinating that if you want to learn, so my example has always been, if if you want to learn something, go out there, find a way and learn it. So when I hear that it's not my responsibility, it's, my company's responsibility, sometimes it's jarring, it's shocking. That said, I do get it. At the end of the day, if it's your employer, if it's your hotel GM or the hotel owners, that want you to lead the wellness offering, their spa and wellness facility more effectively. Because ultimately, the better the leader you are, the better their wellness offering will fare. So they'll have more profitability, more revenue, and that ultimately is a huge benefit for them. I get why you would think that clearly they're benefiting from that. So they should be the ones paying for that training. And I understand that. I get that. And honestly, in an ideal world, that is the way things should be. Your employer should automatically give you all the training you need in order to do your job successfully, because ultimately they're the people who are going to benefit from that training. Now, here's the real thing. Life isn't fair and it's never an ideal scenario. So, what do you do then? If they're not going to invest in you, what will you do? Will you just stop investing yourself? Will you stop betting on yourself? Will you stop growing just because someone else is not going to pay for it? Because here's the thing, the wellness industry is growing several trillion dollars, which means if it's going growing, it's going to represent be an economy that's worth, I don't know, $9 trillion. That means that the number of businesses that are going to be in the wellness industry is going to increase exponentially. And if the number of businesses is going to grow exponentially, guess what? Leaders are going to be needed to manage those wellness businesses. And not just any old leader, leaders who actually know how to manage businesses that run several $1 million a year in profitability only. That is what's required. Now, the industry is going there, whether we choose to be part of it or not. Now the question is, do you want to be one of those strong leaders managing the businesses of the future? Or do you want to stay where you are in the hope that someone is going to actually invest in you so that you have the skills? Now, I started off in this industry 20, 25 years ago. I did not have half of what is available today. And if there were any courses, they were in person, which meant you had to go catch a flight, hotels. So it was just that much more difficult and that much more expensive to learn. And that's also you're learning from people who didn't necessarily know a lot about the industry because the industry was very, very new. And the beauty of today is there is so much information available out there. There's so many specialists in small little niches who are able and willing to share their knowledge with you so that you can learn that. And you can do that at the comfort of your home. Here I am in my kitchen and sharing your knowledge. And I'm here in Madrid. And I know I have people watching me from Cambodia. I have people watching me from Bora Bora. I have people watching me from Saudi. And I'm based in Madrid. I'm sharing my knowledge sitting in my kitchen with this incense stick burning. And this is all for free. Now you can get courses, learn what you need to learn, and upskill yourself. But that has to be your responsibility. It can't be anyone else's. When I rewind, I have never, ever, ever in my career thought that someone else has to pay for me. Everything I've wanted, everything I've needed to upskill myself on, I've gone and done a course. When I went from Kenya to London, I wanted to go to a gym. I couldn't afford the gym membership, so I went and got myself a job there. I didn't know how to train people. I went and took a course to become a personal trainer. I didn't know that industry. I also offered to work for free at the beginning. I was only 16, 17 years old. I was like, please help me. I would love to work here. And I'd manage the reception. And I'd learn and I learned there. I learned how to personal train. I remember when I was working in Goldman Sachs, I was in kind of the middle area. So I wasn't in the trading floor. And I wanted to do the securities, futures, and derivatives representative course. And I was told by the HR department in Goldman Sachs that this is not really an urgent course for my area. And I was like, did I go and listen to them and say, oh, so I'm not going to do that course? You know what I did? It was £2,000. This was a very long, over 20 years ago. That was a lot of money for me back then. And what I did is increased my shifts in the gym. I was working in Goldman Sachs, right? So I was not earning a small salary, but living in London was so expensive. I went, got myself more shifts. I took time off work. This was my holiday. Those days are not like these days where they will give you time to go and invest in yourself. No, I had to take my own holidays. I had to take extra shifts. I paid those £2,000. I learned it. Not going too far here in this day and age. I mean, just shortly after the pandemic, when I was left in a complete standstill, I wanted to write a world-class book, The Wellness Asset. Many of you are reading that book. And in order to see the version you have in your hand, I needed to spend at least 10 grand on getting that right. I had never written a book in my life, though I had spent 10 years on content and had written an ebook. I still went and got myself a book coach. And even after the book coach and a fantastic editor to help me edit the first manuscript, that manuscript got rejected. I had to redo everything and spend another 6 or 7 grand, not to mention all the time I did. And the end result is the book you have in your hand. And in order to do that, I had to teach English. I was teaching English for 35 euros for 90 minutes. That's what I was doing. So I could cover my expenses. So whenever I've wanted something, whenever I've wanted to learn something, I'm a very resourceful woman. I've gone and made it happen. So when I'm told that it's my company's job to train me, it just kind of, it throws me off center. And I understand it. So with this session, just want to offer you taking responsibility for your own growth. And while I was preparing for this session, I was trying to see, okay, how can I, what sources are out there that share this belief? If you think of all the successful people out there, Oprah Winfrey, Steve Jobs, whoever all these big shots are that you look up to, they've never delegated their learning to anyone else. I'm sure if you sat down and asked them the secret of the success, is that their success is built on several failures because they've tried, upskilled, coached themselves, got all the help they needed. There's not even one athlete out there who does not have a coach. So it's, they've taken it upon themselves to upskill themselves. And I've got this beautiful quote from Brene Brown where she puts it, you either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. Now I'm going to say that again because it really is beautiful. You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. Now, if you are a wellness leader out there who is struggling to be heard by your GM, your director of finance, your owners, if you're hustling hard to prove your worthiness, what if you actually just owned your own story, upskilled yourself, and became that leader, the leader of the future, who manages a wellness business that is commercially sustainable? Because if you don't have a business that is commercially sustainable, you can't make the impact you want. You can't give your therapists the well-being conditions they need or the pay they deserve if you don't have a profit and loss that can sustain that. You can't help all your clients, all those people out there who need your help, if you don't have a business that can sustain itself, that can keep the lights on, that can pay all the bills, that can give you the best products out there, that can support the community, that can give money to charities. The list goes on and on. And if you truly want to go down the leadership path, you have to own your learning. It's not anyone else's job to do that. And on that inspiring note, I wish you all a beautiful day ahead. Take care now.